let's see. Need to fix that. Nope, that's not what I needed. There it is. Okay. Let's make sure everything's functional. 1 second. There I am. 1 second. Yes. All right, we're live, and the audio is working. So, it is Friday, August 29th, 2025 at 5:05 p.m., and here we are in Fallout 4. Start with the updates on the videos. Still working on the cast video. I finished the script this afternoon. I should hopefully have the audio recorded tomorrow, and then have the video out by, I think, Sunday. And again, the Mojave Outpost video should be pretty quick as well. I've not started on that one, but given the amount of work I've been doing on the cast video, it's not going to actually be that much additional work beyond that. Again, what I'm going to do is basically just talk about the general... Hey, Daddy Dante, welcome to the stream. I'm going to talk a little bit about the general setting of the Mojave Outpost, what it's there for, who the people are that are there, what's going on there, and a chunk of that's actually already covered within the cast video. So, and then I'll, of course, also talk about every quest that has you go through there. I'm going to... Yeah, do I have... Okay, I had it on. There we go. It's back on. I selected this character, and then I noticed they're level 4. I brought them out here to film. So yeah, the Super Mutants here would make pretty quick work of them. But anyway, I will talk about every quest that touches the Mojave Outpost. There's actually even 3 specifically within the cast video that I cover, and actually a 4th one that I even reference, which is the 4th one is specifically when Vulpes and Colta asks you to go back to, to go spread the word of the destruction of Nipton. So that's one of the quests that takes you to Mojave Outpost. But the ones specifically within Mojave Outpost that I cover in the cast video are things like Heartache by the Number, where you're actually obtaining Cass as a companion, and you're also, part of that is you have to do work for the Crimson Caravan. I can't remember the name of that quest off the top of my head. But regardless... basically, it's a 3-part mission that Alice McLafferty gives you from the Crimson Caravan Company, and one of the parts of that mission are to acquire the Cassidy Caravans, which is the caravan of Rose of Sharon Cassidy, and along with that, she also wants you to go rob the Gunrunner's office and to get one of her nepotistic hires fired. Well, get rid of him. Basically, the guy who was supposed to be running the Crimson Caravan office did not do a very good job of it. Wow, I am doing nothing with this gun. And I'm invulnerable, so this is kind of stupid. But basically, the guy who was supposed to be setting up the office did a terrible job of it. And in the end, she wants him out because he's just causing trouble. So that's what that's all about. But yeah, and then the final one is... Man, I can't, all of them are songs from the 40s, and not from the 40s, from like the 50s and 60s song titles, and I cannot remember exactly what they are off the top of my head. Let me pull it up real quick. Oh, these guys are going to keep shooting at me anyway. Let's do the fun thing you can do when you have infinite ammunition and infinite stamina. There we go. Go ahead, fire. Oh, except, there we go. Alright. That'll give me a second here. Alright. Nope. It's back. There we are, Rose of Sharon Cassidy. Alright, so the specific quests are Birds of a Feather. That's the one where you're working on behalf of the Van Graffs. Basically, one of them, John Baptiste Cutting, who's the half-brother of Gloria Van Graff, who's running the Silver Rush, the Van Graff outpost within New Vegas. He wants you to go bring him Rose of Sharon Cassidy, or Cass as she's also known. And he doesn't tell you why. But yeah, it's basically he wants to execute her. Just kind of screwed up. But Anyway, so yeah, that's what that's all about. Then there's that actually is a really interesting quest line that I'd never actually done before doing this video, specifically because basically working with the Van Graffs. The Van Graffs are not good people, but there's a lot of like interesting stuff within that quest, even past the point where you actually have to let them kill Cass. Like there's more to it even after that. And that extra little bit really, like, adds a lot. Am I just shooting the rock? Because they've got a... Oh, no, it's hitting. Okay. There's a tendency that Bethesda games have at times to have the meshes. Oh, that was a crit... No, there we go. Now we're critical hitting. Bethesda has a game to have the meshes extend past the textures sometimes. And that can really be a problem with gunfights. But anyway. So, yeah. Again, very interesting quest there. The other ones are Can You Find It in Your Heart? Which is one where you're just working for Ranger Jackson to clear the roads. That whole section is very strange. Hey, Night Spearhead, good to see you. Hope you're having a good Friday. Hope you and I think it's both the US and UK have Labor Day Monday. I can't remember if that's the case or not. I feel like I saw that on my calendar today. And if you do, then hope everyone has a good Labor Day weekend. I personally do have Monday off, but I know not everybody does. And if you don't, that sucks. But I hope you all have a good weekend regardless. Let's see. So, let's see. The other quests there are Heartache by the Number, like I already talked about, and You Can Depend on Me, which is the three-part quest that you're getting by Alice McLafferty. But yeah, it's really interesting how Birds of a Feather, Heartache by the Number, and You Can Count on Me all tie together in an overall scheme being perpetrated by Crimson Caravan Company and the Van Graffs. It is ridiculous how much better this pipe rifle is. Of course, I am also shooting a basic super mutant, not a super mutant master like that guy was back there. But yeah, so again, those are the main... that's what the cast video centers on. Although I do talk about general caravanning in the post-apocalypse. I also talk about basically the history of caravanning in terms of how it helped to form the NCR, its involvement in the war to annex New Vegas, or annex the Mojave Wasteland, I should say, and also just again some general backstory on New Vegas as well, because it's important in terms of understanding how dangerous the situation was for all caravanners, but especially for independent caravanners. And this is before even the oh, we got a named one, Big Mac. Before even the crazy collusion that goes on between the Crimson Caravan Company and the Van Graffs. My gosh, he's got a lot of health. Okay, yeah. No, I know, that's terrible. It's one of those crazy things where it's like, it's a day literally created basically to celebrate labor, and then the unfortunate thing is that there are still always going to be people working on Labor Day. But at least it's one of those things where usually you get time and a half. So, I mean, this is that, if nothing else. It's kind of one of those crazy things where it's like my boss is a veteran of the Vietnam War, but we never take Veterans Day off ever. Oh, man. Let's see. There we go. I'm going to switch over to that. This level 4 character is getting stronger and stronger. But yeah, so again, Rose of Sharon Cassidy, or Cass, which, by the way, I didn't know until this, because I was one of those people who was basically able to get through high school without reading most of the books. In fact, I don't even know if I actually got this book, because I did, well, let me just say it. Her name, Rose of Sharon Cassidy, the Rose of Sharon part, is based upon John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath. I don't think I actually was ever assigned to Grapes of Wrath. Good lord, that's a lot of cement. Wow, that's excellent. Like, I mean, there are so many times where I find myself needing cement. This is excellent. And now I know where to get some more cement. Anyway, I don't think I was ever assigned Grapes of Wrath in high school. Because I did a... is that one... I think that part of the program was IB. No, that was History and Biology. I did IB. So this was just AP. In AP History, they gave us a bunch of, like, kind of weird, modern new books that I really wasn't a fan of. I don't know. Maybe I would have liked Grapes of Wrath. Maybe I should read it myself, regardless. Yeah, my boss considered doing the holidays before, but this is open on vacations. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's one of those things too. It's like I remember a few years ago I went up to go visit my my wife's mom and her brother and stuff like that. In-laws, I guess would be the way to put it. And I was on Christmas, and nobody really wanted to cook, but like the only place locally that was open in the entire area was McDonald's. So, well, it's either that or like Walgreens. So it's a question of, it's like, okay, do you want to eat some bags of chips, or do you want to eat some poorly made hamburgers? Well, not poorly made, just the quality of the meat's not really great, but I can't say that they don't do a good job putting those things together. No, yeah, and again, there are plenty of books I should have read in high school. I just never, again, most of them were never assigned, and at the end of the day, I never got around to reading them myself. So, yeah, that's where Rose of Sharon comes from. What else was there to mention about that stuff before moving on? Yeah, really just very interesting stuff overall. It's a lot deeper even than I thought it was before I started looking into it. Hey, well, while we're here, approaching the Suffolk County Charter School here, talk about the upcoming 4 options for the videos on Fallout 4. So I put up the polls both on Patreon and on the Discord. So if you are on either, I recommend going and voting. And if you're on both, I also recommend going and voting in both, because I count both. So where was it? Next lore video poll. Currently, and this is because there's a single vote for it for Patreon. I've got Wilson Automatoys winning that poll currently, followed by the Raiders of the Commonwealth. But the 4 options I have are 1, Raiders of the Commonwealth, 2, Jamaica Plain, 3, Wilson Automatoys, and 4, Suffolk County Charter School. So this is the other one right here. So this is the 4th option right here, covering the whole pink paste stuff in here that creates the crazy ghouls here and stuff like that. So, 1 second. I got home from work and took a nap with my wife for like 2 hours, and I just now am waking up about 10 minutes before I started streaming. So, all right, Super Behemoth over here. Oh yeah. Oh hey, Goodman. Good to see you. Hope you're having a good week. Missed the poll there. Or not the poll, the conversation going on in there for just a second. Yeah, so again, those are the 4 options coming up for Fallout 4. I've not seen anything new on the Fallout TV show since last Friday, since we last talked about it. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing exactly what they do there. What else? Very interesting update to No Man's Sky. They did like a lot of new stuff with No Man's Sky, and really I gotta commend the people at Hello Games, because they've done an amazing job of rehabbing that game. I have been talking to people in the Starborn Discord recently about No Man's Sky more. It was a game that, like, up until Starfield was probably my most anticipated game. Like, I literally had a countdown set to No Man's Sky releasing. Good. I'm glad you're doing well. And it's one of those things where, like, I played it at launch and, like, it was so overpromised and undersold. But over the past 9 years now, it has been amazingly well developed into something that's incredible now. And it's one of those things where they've added so much content for free that I think that they've made up for the issues, and honestly, if we're being truthful here, outright lies that were told before the game came out. Like, specifically, the one that comes to mind more than anything else, was when it was asked if the game was multiplayer. And Sean said, oh yeah, Moonshiner blew himself up here. I feel like I remember us seeing this recently. Anyway, Sean said, yeah, it's multiplayer, but it's one of those things where the galaxy's so big, you'll likely never run into anybody else. And so people then, like, the very first day, found the exact same planet, the exact same place. Both standing in the exact same place, could not see each other because multiplayer did not exist in the game. So, again, they've done amazing work, and the newest update has produced the ability to build ships of your own. And some of these, I will honestly say, I think that they got a little bit of inspiration for the shipbuilding system from Starfield. Now, I don't know if that to be true, but it's something that looks to be the case to me. And the like basically homage ships that they've that Sean has been tweeting at, it look great. Like he did one of In Amber Clad, the ship from Halo 2. Looks great. Oh yeah, no, I've definitely. It's one of those things where I've got a tendency to overhype these games in my own mind. Like I'm one of those people that believed Molyneux on what he said was coming for Fable 3 back in the day, when it's like, oh yeah, you'll be able to plant a seed and watch the tree grow, was one of the things he said about that, which was definitely not the case. Fallout 3, or not Fallout 3, Fable 3, still a good game, but definitely not what was being advertised when it originally came out. Oh, uh-oh. Let's see, what else? Anything else in the news? I'm trying to think if there's... I don't think that there's much else going on currently. Gamescom's over. Again, like I said last time, I was looking for more stuff to come out about Fallout, Starfield, that kind of stuff. There was stuff there that I just wasn't terribly interested in. Again, oh, there is actually one thing. Yeah. The advertisement for what Fable was absolutely a fable. Yeah, no, I'm definitely also interested in seeing what they do with Fable 4. But, yeah, the advertisement as to what... Okay, there's clearly a Yao Guai out here somewhere that's trying to threaten me. There it is. Anyway, yes, there actually was some news on the Starfield front this week, in that the game's creative director, they had a video come out on the game's creative director basically talking about his time with the company, how he started playing Morrowind on his own back in the day, like someone recommended it to him and he started playing it, and then after that he ended up working for the company as a product tester for, I think, Oblivion. He was actually, working in QA on Oblivion and on Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, and ended up becoming creative director for Starfield. And he was talking about the kind of stuff that's coming up with an update. And it seems like he mentioned a few things kind of vaguely, but says he can't really talk about them more. But at the very least, it's one of those things where it's like, yes, it's like, while we've known that something is coming in Starfield, it's one of those things where it's really been frustrating because they will not talk about it for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, honestly, like, outside of Shattered Space last year, they've given us very tiny little content updates here and there, and just have really not been talking about it otherwise. Is this gun too loud, by the way? I don't want this to be basically overpowering literally everything I'm saying. I tried to turn the audio down, but that may still be too loud. But yeah, I've been definitely frustrated because it's one of those things where it's like, I think Starfield is a great game. It has the potential to be, like, incredible if they do some work on some of the systems. And I've just been frustrated with the pace at which they've been working on the game. And I'm also a little bit frustrated with the people out there who are basically kind of... Okay, there's two sides to people being overly on something. So... Oh, yeah. No, that's crazy. Okay, good. So, basically there's two kinds of people that annoy me when it comes to the Starfield community. There are the people that hate it for literally no reason other than because some people online that they like hate it, and so they hate it with them. And they've never actually played the game, but they believe they know what the game is like. And then there's the other people that are like sycophants for Starfield, who like literally seem to believe that there's nothing that can be said to be wrong with it. And there's absolutely stuff that's wrong with Starfield. But it's one of those things where it's like, I believe that the game can be absolutely incredible. I love the game as it is, but it definitely has its flaws. And so the people also that are within like the sycophant camp that are like, oh, well, they just got to give them all the time they need. It's like, guys, they released like all of the Fallout 4 DLC stuff by this point within Fallout 4's cycle. And we've had a single DLC come out for Starfield in that same amount of time. There's something else going on here. I don't know what it is, but they have definitely slowed down. Hey there, Haley. Welcome to the stream. In terms of the amount of content that they've been putting out, and the rate is just... It's honestly been too slow. It's been 2 years almost since the launch. No, yeah, I think what happened... I think the largest problem with what happened with Starfield was basically people expecting something different than what the game ended up being. I think that's honestly the biggest problem. There are absolutely technical issues with the game. Like, there's no question about that in the slightest. And, like, there were actually technical issues that would have kept me from completing companion quest lines when the game came out, where it's like, how'd you guys not catch this stuff? Like, within Sam Coe's quest line, there's a point where there's supposed to be a ship that lands at a bunch of mercenaries, I believe, that come out and try to kill you. Pirates? I can't remember. Regardless, the ship lands, and it never opens up. The people never come out of it. I would not have been able to complete his quest line if I was not playing on PC with access to console commands. Because it was through the access to console commands I was able to forward the quest by, like, force forwarding it. So yeah, no, there's definitely been issues with the game since the launch. And also, I mean, there's still bugs that exist within, like, the outpost system that they still have yet to fix, as far as I can tell. So, yeah, and it's definitely one of those things where it's been very popular to hate on the game. But yeah, so again, I've got my problems with people on both ends of the spectrum there. One other thing to mention real quick, if you are interested in Starfield, I released another one of my surveil charts. Survey charts, I guess. Surveil is something specific to Fallout 76, which I need to get back to doing again. I've just been mired in other stuff. But basically, if you're interested in finding a planet that is habitable, that orbits a gas giant, I now have a chart of those 40 planets. That's within that folder. There's a link within the description for this stream. So if you're interested in knowing what planets you can go to, where you can look up in the sky and see a gas giant in the sky while also being able to breathe the air, that chart's good for you. Let's see. Yeah, no, I know. And I will say absolutely that, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, that what they should have done with cities, I feel like we may have talked about this last time even. I don't know. I talked to so many people about this now. Basically, what they should have done with major cities is that on these major settled planets, like we're talking like Jemison and Aquila, and they already kind of did it with Neon, but also with Mars, is that effectively there should be specific spots on those planets you can land, and that outside of those spots, there's literally a skybox where you can see just like the sky as they would want you to see it, where it's like within New Atlantis, you're within one little spot of New Atlantis on Jemison, and you can't land your ship anywhere else on Jemison, because either it's literally you're trying to like land within a city, or you're landing within somebody else's private lands, or you're landing within some sort of nature preserve or something like that, and they don't want you doing that. And it should be the case that, again, like places like Jemison should be effectively like the most settled planet in the galaxy, with like over 1 billion people living on it by whatever it is, 150 years after the collapse of Earth. And they definitely, I think, made a mistake in trying to go along with the exact same way they've always done the cities, to where if you basically go to any city within Elder Scrolls game or a Fallout game, it's just a small facsimile of the city as it would actually be within the lore. But I don't think that works properly when you're dealing with a city that's on a planet, when you're within like the playable world space is a galaxy. Like, I feel like the way you would have to do that is either, if they're going to do it the way they always do it, like almost do something where it's like a procedurally generated city around it, but I wouldn't want them to do that. I would prefer that they basically do what Mass Effect does, and have it so you can like land in a spaceport and go to specific districts within this overall city where you can do quests and stuff like that. So no, yeah. Oh, there were so many bugs, especially like even with the DLC. That was the other frustrating thing. I remember trying to stream the DLC deal, and it just kept crashing. And it's like, guys, I'm trying to show people the work that you've done here, and it's impossible when the bugs you have make it so I can't do that. There are so many weird little things with Bethesda games. Like, I remember I decided to try to up the frame rate, basically remove the frame rate to make this game, to make Fallout 4 like look better. And when I did, I discovered that movement is based on frame rate, which was an issue I think that existed for a little while with Fallout 76 as well, where if you would look down at your feet, the frame rate would go up, and so you would actually move faster, and everything in the world would happen faster. But within Fallout 4, like, I basically upped the frame rate, and I was suddenly just charging through the city. It's one of those things, though, where that is definitely one of the bits of charm of Bethesda games. The problem is that, like, Bethesda isn't a little tiny studio anymore. They should be able to handle a lot of these bugs. And a lot of the bugs are not even, like, Bethesda standard bugs, where it's, like, randomly people drop from the sky because we don't even know why. You know? It's just, now, a lot of the time, it's stuff where the game just crashes. And that's not a fun bug. But, yeah. So, a little bit of a rant there on my frustrations with Bethesda and Starfield and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's good to hear that there is more content coming to Starfield. But I will say that definitely the stuff that I've seen from No Man's Sky this week, like, looks like they're trying to give Bethesda a run for their money in terms of, like, the spaceship customization stuff. Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. It's crazy, but anyway, so let's see if there's anything else I need to talk to you all about. Yeah, I've been trying to create a full list of all the lore videos I can potentially do for games, because, like, when I was thinking about it for Fallout 4, I was like, I need to actually, like, have a list to go from, because, like, for a while there I had a list for Fallout 76. I've completed 90% of them for Fallout 76 of the topics that I wanted to cover. And there were some of them even that I forgot when I was basically creating a full list of all the videos I've done on Fallout 4, including Hallucinogen. I'd forgotten I did a video on that, and a video on Mass Fusion, and the video on the Turnquist family. But I've got that list together now, and I've got a list as well of other topics to cover in the future. But I'm still going to do the whole thing of basically giving you all a choice of 4 options at a time. And I'm going to try to give you a variety of potential options. So, for example, I've got additional other settlements, like Diamond City, obviously. And then along with that, there's Good Neighbor and stuff like that. But for now, what I've got in terms of that is, what was it? Is it Jamaica Plain? Yeah, basically it's a settlement, whether or not it's one that's inhabited or not. So, but when I cover Jamaica Plain, I think I'm actually coming to I'm reaching the end of the available pre-war towns that are available to cover outside of just Boston itself, which I don't know if I need to do one specifically on Boston itself. It's such a big city, and it feels like it'd be kind of crazy to try to talk about the entire city, like, as it is. Like, you can, of course, do, like, a general outline of the history, but, yeah, no, it'd be kind of crazy to try to talk about the city itself, because it's not like Fallout 76, where you're covering these little tiny towns in Appalachia, where, yeah, they've got 200 years of history, or something like that. But at the same time, or more than that, actually, if we're going to the pre-American period. Like, significantly more than that if we go to the pre-American period. But it's one of those things where it's a town where, like, the max population was at one point, like, 15,000. That was back in, like, the heyday before the Great Depression, when half the town emptied out and stuff like that. So it's very difficult to talk about the city of Boston, which has, like, is it nearly a 400-year history at this point? Something like that. And along with that is massive and has had millions of people living with it and stuff like that. So is Boston your hometown? Or was that half of a statement there? Because I know you're from Germany, so, or you live in Germany at the very least. I know Germany's got some towns that are very, very, very old. Over 2,000 years old. I think one of the craziest things I've seen in Germany in terms of, like, relics of the past is, I feel like I've seen there's a cathedral that uses a column that's made, like part of the column is made out of a form of limestone that is entirely man-made because it came from a Roman aqueduct. Like the calcium buildup on the inner layer of the Roman aqueduct from where the water was running over this section of the aqueduct for centuries. It was leaving these little deposits of calcium and ended up making this this section of limestone that they then removed from the aqueduct and put into the cathedral and part of one of the columns. It's really a very interesting sort of thing there. But anyway, oh, we got a little bit of thunder. We got isolated thunderstorms in the area. I'm very excited about the weather I've got coming this weekend. I know a lot of people don't like it when it rains on the weekend. I love rain, especially because I live in Central Texas where we don't get that much of it. But beyond that, the temperature around here is going to drop. Is that these? Yeah, I think these are hostile. Are they? Yeah, they are hostile. Okay, I just didn't see any dots on the compass. Oh. Huh. Okay. I don't know why I thought you were in Germany. I don't know. Oh, Boston's your hometown, though. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. Okay, so the temperature around here is going to be going from an average of 95, 96 degrees down to 84, 85 degrees. So, yeah, no, I've always loved it when it rained because, like, I've loved video games since I was a kid. And it was one of those things where it's like I didn't have any problems with my parents objecting to me playing video games if it was raining outside because I couldn't go outside. Now, I loved going outdoors too as a kid because like my parents bought a house when I was 8 that backed up to a green belt and ended up going back into the woods back there and hanging out in the woods. But yeah, for the most part, I always loved it when it rained because I got to play more video games. Back in those days, we're talking things like Age of Empires 2 and Warcraft 2 and StarCraft and all that kind of stuff, so good times. Let's see. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to mention in terms of news. I don't know if there is. I will say, okay, so one of the kind of fun little bits of lore, and I'll talk about it more when we get to covering, when I, like, in the actual video covering Cass. There's just like a little throwaway line in like one of Cass's statements where she talks about the fact that her mother is a tribal. And specifically, like that part is not really a throwaway because she talks about that again elsewhere. Her mother was a tribal from Arizona back before Caesar took over. But effectively, she says like a one-off line about like
won't be able to pick this.
The let's unlock that then with magic. Basically, she says that the NCR is rounding up tribals, which is this like it's like, again, it's like a one-off line, but it's one of those things where it's like we have basically two versions of the ways to deal with tribals within Caesar's Legion and within the NCR. So within Caesar's Legion, he's basically turning them into an army of slaves to go out and conquer, while in the NCR, it seems like they're following the old, basically like the American model for dealing with Native Americans during the early 20th century, which at least that's my interpretation of the way that she references it, where it's basically like rounding people up, taking them to schools. So I think that's what we basically get out of what's happening in the NCR when it comes to tribals, which tribals have always been kind of an interesting concept to me. Like some of it seems real. Like the whole idea that you're going to end up with people having like a completely different culture when they're raised in the post-apocalypse, when they're raised without most of the culture that we're living in. Yeah, NCR really following in America's footsteps, yeah. Because basically, like, so we are a product of our culture, and we're a product of basically our society. And in the Fallout universe, both of those things have completely collapsed. And so, like, within the NCR, you've got basically a modified version of American culture. I don't know why I'm still trying to get up on this thing. I got into that building. Anyway, But at the same time, there are absolutely these little tiny groups out there in the middle of nowhere, places like Arroyo in Fallout 2, where they have a completely like alien culture to what we would consider to be normal American culture. And that's the case like across the board. Like there's all kinds of stuff like that within the American Southwest. Seemingly, you don't seem to see that in on the East Coast. Like I don't remember anything quite like that being the case within the Capital Wasteland, within the Commonwealth, or within Appalachia. But it does seem to be quite prevalent within the American Southwest and on the West Coast in general, within the Fallout 2, Fallout New Vegas, stuff like that. Fallout itself, actually, as well. But the kind of weird thing about it, the thing that does not really make that much sense to me, is the whole thing where every one of the little tribes has its own little like English patois, to where it's like, it's one of those things where, sorry, one thing there, if I see the tribals on the West. Yeah, it's kind of like that, but at the same time, it's like these are obviously people that have survived the bombs and have basically tried to survive in the aftermath. You get a little bit of that, the history of that kind of thing with what's it called? The guy in Zion National Park. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Randall? Anyway. So, I think that the whole thing where they all develop their own languages, like, is a bit off. It's one of those things where, like, so... There's definitely the case where, like, I could see it being difficult to understand why people can speak. Like, why people could understand, like, it'd be difficult to understand what other people are speaking. Like, it's one of those things where, one of my dad's favorite things was, there was a show on the History Channel, I think it was, back when the History Channel got into its, Randall Clark, got into its reality show mode, which, by the way, I loved the History Channel back when the H stood for Hitler, just because, like, literally everything on the History Channel was either something Roman Empire or something World War II related. That was my preferred version of the History Channel, but yeah, there was also a time where I did watch it a little bit, but when it was the what's it called, reality TV channel with like a hint of history. But one of my dad's favorite things on there was a show where they were covering this Cajun guy. And the guy was clearly speaking English, but his accent was so thick that they put subtitles on the screen for this guy. So I could see it being the case that you would end up with like different local cultures maybe having that sort of situation where they develop an accent that's like completely foreign. And it's one of those things where like even you can see it a little bit in some of the regional accents in Great Britain, where you've got some of them that are just really quite difficult to understand. But I don't know. I feel like that's one of those things where those developed over the course of centuries, and it's only been 2 centuries since the war. And at the same time, like, there's still books and stuff like that around that people can read. I don't know. It feels like the languages of the tribals developed too quickly, and it's it's one of those things where it's like it feels like they were developed that quickly for the purposes of the story rather than something that would actually happen quite like that. So I guess that's my general thought about that. And so my point there in saying that they like, I think that they would still have the same words. They would probably just have a strange way of saying them. Yeah, no, I know. I've always found it weird when there are people... So, like, okay, there are definitely situations where people are speaking in slang that I don't understand, because it's an entirely cultural thing and entirely local to their area. But I can understand just about anybody speaking English regardless of the accent, so long as I am given, like, the ability to block out everything else and just focus on their voice, to where I can understand, like, the ridiculously thick Scottish, Indian, French, any accent. But again, so long as they're speaking English, I can get it. But I do know that there are people out there that, like, literally cannot understand people speaking with, like, a strong Chinese accent. But again, they're literally speaking English. Got Overland Station here. I'm hoping that they do maintain something of the settlement system going forward, but I don't think that they quite nailed it in Fallout 4 or in Starfield. Starfield, the settlements feel too dead. They feel more like... Oh, she's trying to come and get me a quest here. I'm going to avoid that. But at the same time, the settlers within Fallout 4, they feel too generic. I would like there to be some more, like if there. I hope that going forward, first of all, that they give us like specific settlements. I do think that was a good idea with Fallout 4. That's definitely an issue I have with Starfield, is there's a little too much procedural generation. But at the same time, I hope that they give us some more significantly unique settlers at these places. So, yeah, no, 100%. But yeah, there are definitely parts of this whole system that I like. But I do also like that, for the most part, in Fallout 4 and in Starfield, they did make the settlement system, generally speaking, optional. Now, obviously, for the purposes of like getting into the Institute, being able to build a transporter, you do have to have a settlement to build that transporter in, and you do have to do that little bit of work at the very beginning with the Minutemen to get them into Sanctuary Hills. But other than that, it's not like you actually do have to set up Oberlin Station or Hangman Alley or any of them, Grey Garden. And so I do appreciate that they did that. But again, I hope that they do carry the settlement system forward. I think it'd be really interesting to see it in something like Elder Scrolls, especially if it was something where they actually integrated it into the main story. Now, again, that would also kind of take away from the thing where you don't have to do it. But I would love the idea that you are building some sort of political faction to take on some other faction within Elder Scrolls. And I feel like the Elder Scrolls universe is the perfect sort of place to do that. If you have some sort of war that's going on, potentially between the Empire and the Altmer? No, the Altmer is the race. Aldmeri Dominion. Sorry, I've got too many different universes in my head, and sometimes I confuse the language between them. Oh, wow. Yeah. Can't have the real world music coming in through this stuff. Again, it's not like I've got this thing set to be monetized, but I still don't want to end up with any copyright issues. So I do love how I did have this little clip of Fallout 76 when I was playing it on stream about a year ago. 2 years ago at this point, where within the Atomic Shop there was a licensed song playing. I didn't realize it at the time, but then I had my stream, the replay, taken down for copyright issues. And it's just like, do you really think that I'm attempting to create a alternate version of the ability to listen to this music? I'm literally scrolling through the Atomic Shop and talking at the same time. What's going on here, guys? Like, there's so much about copyright law that is just crazy. And I get as well that there's the whole thing where you used it without our permission. It's like, I didn't know I was even using it. So, anyway. Those monkeys are freaky, but anyway. But yeah, so that's what I was thinking on those topics. I kind of got a little sidetracked there at the end. So there's a mixture of multiple things in that conversation. Interesting. Got a little stone wall here. I do like that there is this kind of stuff where you can kind of find stuff where it seems like maybe this is intended to be like a relic from an earlier time when maybe you're assuming that there was a home here at some point or something like that back in the colonial era or something, but anyway. No, yeah. Oh, man. Anyway, though, what are y'all doing this weekend? Personally speaking, I'm going to probably be trying to do some car repair. And along with that, again, getting the cast video out and the Mojave Outpost video out. My car, I basically have had to replace the entire coolant system aside from the radiator over the course of the past few weeks. Replaced all the hoses and the thermostat again. Hopefully, my car will be running again. I've been stymied by the fact that my car's battery has basically been out of charge multiple times. And I bought a trickle charger off Amazon, and it's like one of those things where it's like, I don't know if I've got something wrong, set up with the trickle charger. I don't know if I've got it on the wrong poles of the battery. I don't think I do. But at the same time, like, it has been attached to that thing for like 3 days, and the charge is still not there. So I don't know if maybe I need a new battery, need a better trickle charger, if I've got it set up improperly. But I'm just going to try to jump the car this weekend and hope that goes forward from there. But that's part of what I've got planned this weekend. working, right? Wonder if anybody out there has any parties or anything they're going to for Labor Day. Ooh. I heard a noise that I was afraid for a second I had tripped a trap, but luckily that doesn't seem to have been the case. Man. Oop, sorry, 1 second. Okay. Thinking if there's anything else I need to talk to you all about. Yeah, no, I didn't know much about cars. So I've changed my own oil for about the past 10 years. Yeah, that's about how long. Just because it's significantly cheaper than taking it to a place. Now, obviously, you're having to get down on your back, jack a car up over you, and basically hope that you've done that right, that it's not going to fall on you. Which I've never had an issue with that. But like the amount of like the cost of the oil to do an oil change is something like, and the filter is like $25 total, and there are so many places now that are trying to charge something like $75. One thing real quick to note on this sort of topic, which I know is completely unrelated to anything Fallout, Starfield, or anything, even gaming related, is that if your dealership tries to, or your mechanic tries to charge you something like $50 to do an engine air filter change, do not do that. Like, outside of some very rare circumstances, of which I'm not even aware, where it's like some sort of brand where they do something crazy with where they locate your engine air filter, it is insane to pay that much for that. So, just to give you a basic example, because I just changed the engine air filter on my wife's car, the filter itself costs $15. It literally took me 30 seconds to change the filter out in the car. If we go from the point where the engine is open, because literally it's just pull 2 clips off, open the thing, pull the old filter out, put the new one in, and close it. They were trying to charge us $50 at the dealership for that. Literally, again, $15, 30 seconds of work, $15 part, 30 seconds of work. So again, they're taking advantage of people's ignorance. So that will be the one thing I say there. And you can always find tutorials on how to change that kind of stuff on YouTube. YouTube is excellent for that kind of stuff. Yeah, so again, that's my little try to save yourself from being scammed thing of the day. If you're not familiar or comfortable with oil changes, there's no problem with having a place change that stuff for you. But again, it's generally fairly expensive, usually 3 times the cost of the oil itself. And again, these are people that are literally, most of the time, they can either lift the car up on a lift or they drive it over a pit. And either way, they've got much easier access to this kind of stuff. So, yeah. Let me think. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I haven't mentioned that has come up in the past week. I will say that there is the channel that was using my my footage in their video. That they had to take that video down, which I'm glad about that. Again, if you missed it, there was a channel out there that had a compilation video on vaults, and they were for 5 of the vaults. They used footage from my videos to do it without actually asking me beforehand, without crediting me, and in the end, they used 14 minutes of footage. And in a lot of cases, like we're talking about, just like a minute and a half of uncut footage just running in the background, and it's like that's not cool. You can go into the game itself and you can record that footage yourself. Like, you don't need to steal that from somebody else. And it was not just my stuff. He was also taking stuff from multiple other Fallout YouTubers. And I know that the other YouTubers I was working with, that I was talking to about all this theft, they ended up getting another one of his videos taken down that was covering cryptids. I personally have not covered cryptids much outside of videos where they're basically touched on. Like, when I talked about the Mothman cult, obviously going to talk about the Mothman a little bit. So... But yeah, so... Jeez Louise, I forgot how explosive this bridge is. But yeah, so those 2 videos are down. I haven't seen anything from that guy to even acknowledge that. Of course, I haven't checked in the past couple days. I can check real quick and see if there's anything new there. Let's see. Nothing new on Twitter/X. And I can check this real quick on the YouTubes. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to... I'm not going to publicly shame him for this unless he decides to come after me for some reason. That's not what I typed. Sorry, 1 second. No new video since then, so doesn't seem like he's given any comment on that in the slightest. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like a good news, bad news sort of situations, because it's one of those things where it's like I hate dealing with that kind of stuff. Like I don't like thinking about, like I don't like having to go through any sort of official system to deal with someone stealing from me or anything like that. But at the same time, it was kind of fun because I got to meet some other fairly big name YouTubers. Definitely bigger than I am. Like the smallest one outside of me is something like 10 times the number of subscribers that I have. So that was interesting. But again, because I don't know if they want to talk about this stuff publicly, I'm not going to name them either. So, but yeah, so that whole situation has, at least for the time being, been resolved, and I can go back to not thinking about that stuff again. Now, I'm sure there are people out there, like specifically this guy who has the stolen content on YouTube, also had the same stolen content on TikTok. But I don't have a TikTok. I don't pay any attention to TikTok, so whatever. It's frustrating, but again, at the same time, I hate TikTok, generally speaking, because I feel like it's one of those things where it effectively is like destroying the attention span of people. So, yeah, no, that's, again, he had 2 fairly major videos taken down. My hope is that he's learned his lesson here and will not try to steal footage from people going forward. But the problem is, he does videos on multiple different universes. Hey, ADHD Queen, good to see you. Hope you're having a good week. But it's one of those things where I would not be even slightly surprised to find out that all of his footage is stolen from other YouTubers. I'll just say that. Again, I have no frame of reference in those other areas, but given what I know of his coverage of Fallout stuff, and the fact that I know that all of his stuff is stolen there, it's just crazy. Got to move on again before the music people come after me. I couldn't even tell you what that song was just from that 2 seconds right there. So hopefully they won't have an issue with that either. That was another one of the frustrating things about this copyright system, just to say one last thing on that, which is that, again, like when I was trying to create videos on the Fallout TV show, I would try to use like a 3-second clip of the TV show, and it would not let me publish it. It would tell me, no, there's copyright issues. But this guy had literally a minute and a half of footage taken from my stuff. Nothing. No notice from YouTube that anything was going on there. So I don't know. And again, it was the same sort of situation where like literally the video is muted in both circumstances because he's using his own audio over my footage. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. That's just still slightly bitter about YouTube's copyright system just because it seems crazy in terms of how they actually manage that stuff. So, but yeah, so again, upcoming stuff, the cast video, expect that out within the next couple days. I would hope I would get the thing out by Sunday. The script for it, I think, is 11 pages long, which is basically a medium-sized script. I feel like that's usually the sort of thing where I get a 20-minute video out of it. And it's one of those things where, because, like, so much of it is actually just backstory. Like, some of it is obviously specifically talking about Cass, right? Anything that she says, I tried to put it in there in terms of, like her past with her father, her mother, her necklace, her name, what she did growing up, how she formed her caravan, all that kind of stuff is in there. But generally speaking, to talk about how difficult caravanning is within the Mojave, I did talk about the background of all that stuff. So, no, yeah, that stuff's really frustrating. I will say I did see something interesting that YouTube is putting out. It's some sort of boosting system where basically if you have anywhere from 5 to 500,000 subscribers, the people who watch your videos can boost a video, and then it can basically have more of a chance of actually appearing in people's algorithm. It only can occur within 7 days of the video launching. But hey, if you all end up watching the Cass video when it comes out and you find that you think it's worthy of that sort of boosting, I would appreciate it if you all would nominate it for that sort of a thing. So, yeah, it's definitely, again, it's been very interesting to cover this stuff because anytime I play through Fallout New Vegas on my own accord, like when I'm trying to just have fun with the game, I always do like the goody two shoes versions of things. And so, like, I've never done any work for the Van Graffs. But in the course of covering Cass, I had to do some work for them. Specifically, you work their front gate. Basically, keeping out the drunks and the people coming in trying to commit violence. And, yeah. It's been very interesting to cover that stuff and their relations with the Legion and with the NCR. Hey, Goodman, hope you have a good Labor Day weekend. And I'll see you next Friday. I think I should be here. I don't foresee there being any issues going on there. But you never know until the time itself comes. But yeah, so it's been definitely interesting covering the Cass stuff. So again, expect the Cass video, the Mojave Outpost video shortly after. And then again, same with the Van Graffs. Yeah, when you think about betraying them. There is a very... I think it's bugged. So basically, after I finished recording all the stuff that I needed, I went to the wiki to see if there was anything I'd missed, and I saw that there's actually the option to use a specific perk when it comes to that specific Van Graff questline. And it's something called Terrifying Presence. And so if you have 70 speech, you can get the perk Terrifying Presence, and it gives you some interesting dialogue options every now and then within certain conversations. So when you bring Cass in, and Jean-Baptiste Cutting is basically saying he's about to execute her, you can basically use your Terrifying Presence to say, you do that and I'm killing everyone in this room. And he's like, you know what, I believe you would do that. Now, what's supposed to happen, I think, is that the conversation ends and they target you rather than trying to execute Cass. But everything that would happen whenever I was recording was the conversation would end, and then it would just reset the conversation. So I'd have to go back and start talking to him again and bring up the Terrifying Presence thing. So again, it would literally just cycle through the Terrifying Presence dialogue option. Oh, man. I love Fallout New Vegas, but it is so buggy still, even just years later. Speech perks, yeah. No, they're absolutely great. I did a little bit of, I tried to play Baldur's Gate 3 recently. It's one of those games where it's like, it's so ridiculously complex that I never know if following what is the right course. And of course, that's kind of the point of it. You're supposed to be making your own way there. But it's one of those things where I don't feel like I have the time to do something that's that dense. But I did find it interesting that there's like, Fallout New Vegas. Okay. It's a very good game. It is definitely not a perfect game. But Baldur's Gate 3 is one of those games where it's like you can really see what they can do with games when they actually give you basically free reign to do whatever you want with dialogue options, to where it's like you can like even talk your way through the craziest situations. And there's a little bit of that kind of stuff within Fallout New Vegas. It's very rare to see it in an extreme way within the rest of the Bethesda Fallout games, but let's see. There's a sneaky mind usage. No, I should, but no, I just run. And in this case, I used the fact that this character was level 4 when I opened the game up, and I was running around down near Wilson Automatoys in South Boston, and so I turned on God mode so I wouldn't die like every 3 seconds while streaming. That is why I'm not currently dead, and why I have these 406 bullets that never deplete. I probably could actually turn off God mode now that I'm in a more reasonable biome. Let's do that, actually. There we go. No, yeah, again, games like Baldur's Gate 3 have excellent dialogue choices. It's definitely been the case that it's been a thing on the decline. Oh, yeah. Survival, okay, I will say survival is absolutely an interesting experience, and it's something where I generally love survival when I'm doing it 99% of the time. Then there's that last 1% where something like a landmine happens, and it's like, oh, I just lost 45 minutes of my life because that's gone. That's when my last save was. Because the last time I saved was when I slept over in Sanctuary Hills. I was up over by USAF Station Olivia, and it's just all that time's lost. And it's like, oh, okay. This is why I don't really like playing roguelike games, you know? It's like those things where it's like, just losing forward progression like that is utterly maddening. And it's one of the, like, obviously that's part of the experience, but I hate it. Oh man. And it's this sort of thing where it's like I legitimately enjoy survival modes in like every one of the games that I play them in, but they always end up with that little 1% of it that kind of just like ruins it for me. Because like I don't mind the fact that I'm having to balance eating and drinking and dealing with diseases and trying to make sure I'm sleeping and all that kind of stuff, but see, but saving all the time is fine, but not when you can't do it without sleeping. Yeah. Appreciate it. But yeah. So, now that I'm no longer invincible, I'm actually much more... Oh! I'm glad that thing somehow managed to miss me. In terms of, I guess something else I haven't mentioned here. Something else, I've been listening to audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks now and then when I get in the mood for it. And in this case, I've listened through the 7-book series, currently 7 books, of Dungeon Crawler Carl, which is, it's an interesting genre, not a genre I would have thought that I would have liked very much. It's basically like following a character moving through an RPG. Let's go turn that off. I don't know that Ride of the Valkyries would give me an issue there, but you never know. But yeah, it's a very interesting genre, whereas you're, like, just to give you the basic premise of it, the very opening of the book, there's a guy named Carl who has got his cat, Princess Donut. It's actually his ex-girlfriend's cat. And the entire world is collapsed. Oh, Jesus, this thing is going to kill me. Is collapsed into a dungeon. Uh-oh, I'm out of ammo? That was quick. I don't have many rounds with this either. The entire world is collapsed into a dungeon, and it's the sort of thing where, like, this alien corporation is coming in and creating this dungeon underground where it's a combination of things where effectively it's a way for them to legally take the resources from a planet with a sentient population. And at the same time, it's also a way to provide entertainment to the galaxy of, like, octillions of people, to where people watch as people struggle to survive within a dungeon. And it's like by the end, it's like an 18-level dungeon. By the end of book 7, you're down to the very start of level 10 of 18. And I'm going to leave those guys to fight because I am low on ammunition and I don't want to die. Yeah, again, it's a very interesting story there. It's the sort of stuff I was not expecting to get into it. My brother recommended it to me, and he actually bought me the first book on Audible, and so I've been listening to that and listened to the other 6 in rapid succession. Very entertaining books, I'll say that. The characterization's great, and the Audible stuff is also amazing. So, all right, hope to see you next time. And actually, I'm just realizing now it's about time for me to actually head off as well. So, yeah, I hope you all have had a good week. I hope you all have a good weekend. Coming up next, again, over the next couple days, the cast video, the Mojave Outpost video, and then I'll be working on the Fallout 4 videos. So if you have not voted on the polls within either the Patreon or within the Discord, or if you want to vote on both if you're a patron, the current 4 topics up for be covering them in the next month are Raiders of the Commonwealth. So we're talking about the different little raider gangs that exist across the place. They're technically, I think, all the same faction, but at the same time, they have their local bosses. So that's one of the videos. Another one is Jamaica Plain, with the treasure of Jamaica Plain. It's a real town, Jamaica Plain is. Then there's also, what are the other 2? I've forgotten already. Let me check here real quick. Sorry. There they are. Wilson Automatoys, and that's the company that produces the Giddy Up Buttercup. The founder of the company is now a ghoul. And then there's also Suffolk County Charter Schools. So those are the 4 options coming up. If you're interested in seeing any one of those specifically, go ahead and vote in either one of the polls or both again. And next time we'll be talking a little bit more about that kind of stuff. Again, hopefully, I know I'll get the cast video out this weekend. I'm hoping to get the Mojave Outpost video out within the next 3 or 4 days after that. Hopefully no more than 2 to 3, but 3 to 4 probably. So I hope you all had a good time. I had a good time hanging out with y'all, and I will see you all next Friday, again, to talk more about stuff in Fallout 4 and going forward with other stuff. So have a good weekend, y'all.